So, good morning or good night, depending on where you are in the world. And welcome to a collaboration album review. We haven't done this in a while where we talk about a new album. And today we're going to talk about a album that came out this Friday. So, it's from a band that I've loved for years, and it's Coheed and Cambria and their new album, Vaxis, Free Father of Make Believe. So here's the album artwork. And for this episode, I'm joined. I have Nick Zeno from Nick Zeno Music. Nick, how are you?
Good, Hector. Thanks for having me on again.
Yeah, yeah, it's been a while, man.
Yeah, it's been a bit.
I missed you.
I missed you too.
And we have returning Señorita Sabrosura. How are you, Señorita?
I'm good. Everything good over here.
Yeah. And finally, we have JC Rock and Metal Reviews. How are you, JC?
I'm doing good. Thanks.
And I had JC's back because we actually reviewed on my channel Baxis 2. I did a review with JC on that album, the last album, and we're reviewing this album. And I gotta say, I hate this album artwork. Because, to quote my good friend Chili from Live Listening Range, it looks like 11 from Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Or what's that unique?
Was
Was that unique, or was it Chili that compared that to 11 from Stranger Things?
I think that was chilly for sure.
Yeah, I think it was Chili. Yeah, because yeah, it kind of looks like it. I don't like that. I'm gonna say that I think the album artwork sucks. I hate this album artwork. I think their last album artworks for this Baxis, or how do you say it properly, Nick?
Vaxis.
No, you go Baxis.
Vaxis.
Yes. So yeah, this is the third part in a trilogy. Well, it's not actually a trilogy. Apparently, there's two more albums for this series. And I could sit here and say that I know the whole story, but that would be a lie. But I don't think you need to listen to to know the story, to know the album. So yeah, we'll talk about our first impressions listening to this. We'll do like if it's an Is It That Bad, but it's not an Is It That Bad. Like first impressions listening to it. Then we'll talk around to like favorite songs, and then at the end we'll talk like maybe what we didn't like and stuff like that. So since Nick hasn't been in the channel since December, Nick, give us your initial thoughts on this album.
Well, I'm a moderate Coheed and Cambria fan. I wouldn't say like they're one of my go-to bands. I would say like from every Coheed album, there's always like maybe 3 or 4 songs on each album that I really love. And I actually really loved Vaxis too. I thought there was like a lot of really good songs on that album that like really catchy, hard-hitting songs that I really enjoyed. But then for this one, I felt like it was still good because Coheed is like the type of music they make that is not easy to make. It's very technical. It's very emotional. Obviously, there's a huge theme and a big storyline running through all the albums that again, like you, Hector, I have no idea what's going on with this storyline, the Emery Wars. I'm just like, whatever. But Claudio Sanchez says that like when he first got into being Coheed and Cambria, he didn't feel comfortable kind of expressing himself in his lyrics, and he wanted to kind of hide that behind a story. So that's why he came up with Amory Wars. So I think this album it's okay. Like it's good because Coheed and Cambria is a good band, but I found myself coming away with like not really thinking the songs were as catchy as they should have been. Like on the last album on Vaxis, you had Shoulders, you had Comatose, you had Liars Club, which were like all super catchy Coheed songs. And with this album, I felt like there wasn't really as much of that, as much as they're really rocking really, really hard. I just felt like it's kind of like Coheed on autopilot, if that can be a thing. Like it feels like they can just do this no matter what. They can be like this, like on autopilot. And it would have been nice. They do some new things on here, but it would have been nice to hear them doing something a little bit different. And I feel like this is just run of the mill Coheed. Even though there are some good songs on here, I don't think it's as good as Vaxis 1 or Vaxis 2. So I think it's okay, but it's not their best.
Okay, yeah, good initial thoughts. So what about you, Señorita?
Well, for me, it was the contrary. I listened to this album and I immediately like it. And it was so different for me because the last album I can't even remember a song. It wasn't that last album for me, at least it wasn't that memorable. For me this sounded more like Coheed, the Coheed that I know. And one thing I like it and I felt with this album, it's that it sounded less polished, like more raw, more organic. And it reminded me a little of some of the songs like the old school Coheed and Cambria. For me, it's because I like the softer songs. So I like it. And I think the more I listen, it's been growing on me.
Good, good. What about you, JC?
Okay, I've never been into this band. Really, the first time I listened to them was back in 2022 when we did our review of the last album, Vaxis 2. And I gave Vaxis 2 another listen just to remember it. And I remember I didn't like it that much back then. And I still didn't like it that much. I know that there was a couple songs I liked, like the Liars Club from the last album. That was a good one. And I remember the last three songs on the last album were my favorites, like such as Ladders of Supremacy. That was probably the best one. Now on this one, I actually liked it better. I thought it had more variety. There was like more stuff going on, and I thought it had like a better sound, a better production. I thought there was more guitars. I felt like the last one was a little more of like a pop album. I thought this one had more stuff going on. There was a lot more variety. So I thought this one was better, but of course there were like a lot of songs I liked. Some songs that were I found kind of boring, kind of like filler tracks. But I thought this one had more standouts than the previous album. So I think this one was a little better. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, I thought Vaxis 2 sucked ass.
I'm the
Yeah.
odd man out here.
And you know why I thought it sucked? Because it abused auto-tune. And I remember that was the because I think I rewatched that review. It was all auto-tune. Like, and I don't need like Claudio Sanchez needed that much auto-tune in his voice. So for me, Vaxis free. Uh, it's a grower. On my first listen, I wasn't blown away by it, but there's one song that I liked before, the single "Search Tomorrow" was awesome. So that track really reminded me of like older Coheed and Cambria, and at least Claudio sounded like him. But yeah, I really like Baxis One. I know I saw my friend Chili's like review, and he said that Baxis One was the weakest of this trilogy. And I'm sorry, my friend, I disagree with you, Chili. I think Baxis One is amazing. Very like it's long, but the songs are amazing. Baxis 2 to me, yeah, had the problem with all the auto-tune and it felt more like a pop record. So this one to me, initial thoughts, it was a grower, but that's why I wanted to have the whole weekend to listen to it, to have it grow on me. And I gotta say, it grew on me more because on first listening, I thought maybe that that it sucked like Baxis 2, but re-listening more, there's like, no, there's stuff here that I like. And I don't think he didn't do those sound effects that he did on Baxis 2. Like he over abused that, and that really took me out of that album. So yeah, my initial impression is like I think it's a grower. And the more listens I have gone to it, I've warmed up to it more. Do I believe it's their best thing yet? No, but I think it's a step in the right direction after Baxis 2. So Nick, what tracks were your favorite, man?
Searching for Tomorrow for sure is one of my favorites. I really liked that before the album came out, and I think that's a really good Coheed single. Like I'm always going for the catchier side of things, so I thought that was a really good catchy single. I liked Blindside Sunny. I really liked they're definitely letting loose on that one. That felt like a really raw track. And I think Claudio Sanchez, like, yeah, it's a shame if he uses something like auto tune, because he is such a great vocalist. And it feels like he's the last person that would need that would be him because he's so good. And on Blindside Sunny, he's screaming, he's singing. It's a really, really good performance from him and the whole band. I really liked Someone Who Can. I feel like that might be a controversial track on the album because it's definitely on the poppier side of things, but I really, really liked Someone Who Can. I thought that was a really, really great song. And then there was one more. What's the song with something about a miracle? That one was really good as well. I forgot what it was called, but I liked. What was that?
Was it Father of Make Believe or Goodbye Sunshine?
It was one of the other ones that later on in the album. I have it on my list here, but I can't find it. But it was a really good. I liked a handful of the songs, but I think like a bunch of them were a little bit weaker. But I like the catchy single worthy songs. That's always my hallmark. So
Okay. So what about you, Señorita?
Well, for me, I really like the first half of the album. I thought it started really solid. Even the first track, the opening track, I really love it. It's so delicate and soft. It's a really different way to start the album. Yesterday's Loss. Suddenly I thought I was listening to Sufjan Stevens. I don't know. It's super different for Coheed, but for me it was a nice surprise. The other song I like Nick, it's Someone Who Can. I thought it has that sensibility. It's very dreamy pop rock song. It's more radio friendly, but I like it. It felt like nostalgic, and with the video even more. And I thought it was a really good songwriting on that song. And the other song I really like was Blindside Sunny. I thought it sounded different. It has like that trashy element, and I like the Claudio distorted screams. It reminds me of a little bit of Randy Blythe of Lamb of God, or maybe George Petit from Alexis on Fire. I don't know. I it sounded that they were having fun with this song.
Yeah, yeah, cool choices. So, what about you, JC, man?
I like track two, Goodbye Sunshine, because the first track was very slow and this one kind of picked up the pace. It was like a pop punk type of song. So I like this one because it was catchy, had a lot of energy, and it was a fun song. Then the next one, probably my favorite song on the album, Searching for Tomorrow. I really like the guitar playing. They do this like classical guitar playing with the electric guitars. I like that part a lot, and I just really like just the guitars in general on that song. I'll also pick Blindside Sunny. I think everyone has mentioned that one, but it's the heavier song. It has like the metal riffs. It has like the hardcore punk vocals and the fast pace, and so that one definitely stands out amongst all the other ones that are like softer songs. And I'll pick one more towards the end, Continuum 2, The Flood. Out of all the continuums, this one was the best one because it was just more of like a hard rock, classic rock. It reminded me of the band Queen, like the Brian May type of guitar sound. I like that, and it had those neoclassical moments on the guitar as well. So that's it. Yeah, those four, but yeah, the rest of the tracks were pretty good. There were some slower ones. Some of it reminded me of like the Beatles. So there were some other good stuff here, but those are my favorites. Yeah.
Nice. So for me, my favorite track on the record is Searching for Tomorrow. But I just realized, listening to the song repeat, that tana tana, it's like it goes throughout the whole song, that noise. And I'm like, oh my God, that goes throughout the whole song. And I didn't notice at first. I thought it was just at the beginning, but it's like a loop. But I think it's a pretty awesome Coheed and Cambria song. I like Goodbye Sunshine too. And I was actually watching an interview for Claudio, and he was saying like that song was like him saying good, like he was thinking of like Coheed and Cambria as like a funeral, and he wrote that song because apparently, obviously he's following the Vaxis storyline, but I don't think you need to know the storyline to enjoy the songs. I've never actually followed any of the Coheed and Cambria story. I just listened to the albums and enjoyed the tracks, and I think that's what's good about them, because if you have to like read the comics or something to understand everything, I don't know. I don't think it would be as enjoyable for people that wouldn't do that. So I thought Father of Make Believe was a good track as well. I actually like Someone Who Can, even though it's on the poppier side, commercial side, but I think it's a really uplifting song. And Blindside Sunny, it has more like like a thrashier song, like a harder song, which is like it's like a good difference for them. So those 5 songs really stood out for me. So now let's talk about maybe things that we didn't like as much in this record. So Nick,
In terms of like actual songs.
yeah, or songs, or maybe something in the album that you didn't like.
Well, I wasn't really as into the continuum thing going on, like 1 through 4. I felt like it was very Coheed to end the album with this multi-part section that they have different things to, and it felt like it was a little bit like run of the mill right until the end. And then I think it was on the Continuum 4 called So It Goes, where it was felt like it was like Panic at the Disco or 21 Pilots or something. It felt like a completely different band, and I really wanted them to. It would have been cool if they'd done some more experimenting like that earlier on in the album. It always feels a little bit tacked on when they, do a certain thing throughout the whole album, and then right on the last song is like, okay, now we're gonna do something different because this is the last song on the record. So I really wish that they'd kind of done some of the more experimental stuff or the different sounds for Coheed earlier on in the album. Like same with the Someone Who Can. I thought that was a great song, and I'm thinking, why is this song? It's such a strong song. Why isn't it earlier on in the album? It should have been maybe track 3 or 4 to kind of break things up a little bit. So I maybe would have changed the track list a little bit to make it a little bit more balanced, because when you have too many of those kind of samey Coheed songs back to back, it starts to lose my interest a little bit. So I would have liked to hear them do those different kind of sounds a little bit earlier on in the record.
Okay. What about you, Mary?
If I have to nitpick something, it will be that I felt it was too long. Like for me, the first half of the album starts really strong, it catch me, but then I start to lose interest and with the continuum and everything. It's like, okay, more of the same. Like I felt it was too long.
Okay. Yeah, it's actually shorter than Bax's one. Bax's like an hour and 20 minutes, but some great tracks on that one. But yeah, so yeah, good ones. So what about you, JC?
I think it has a good front half, except for the first song. The first song, I thought it was a little slow. I don't know. They probably could have started off the album with something a little more energetic. But other than that, like tracks like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like those, like a chunk of really good songs. Then it kind of drags like towards the end. So I think that's my biggest negative. There were a lot of songs that kind of sounded the same and were not memorable, like towards the end of the album, even though like those Continuum songs. I know I picked Continuum Part 2, but I mean like parts 1 and 4 were, I don't know, pretty kind of like sounding the same. So I think it's not really that bad, but it just there was a few negative things about it in terms of tracks that are not as memorable.
Yeah. So for me, I think the weakest part of this album is the ending, the continuum 1 through 4, because they've done this in the past way better than this. And Nick, I'm sorry, but I hate it. So it goes. It's
Yeah, it's different for them.
like a cheap knockoff of like My Chemical Romance.
Mhm.
Like it sounded like at the part, like remember the Black Parade? It sounded like they were like ripping that off, like the sound. So I don't know. And for ending, it felt so weak. I would have started if I would have been the producer. I would have told Claudio, you need to start the album with Searching for Tomorrow. That would have been the perfect album opener. Then I would have put Goodbye, or Goodbye Sunshine, or I would have put Yesterday's Lost after Searching for Tomorrow. And I think it would have been like Searching for Tomorrow would have been like a great way to start the record. But I gotta say, the production on this one didn't annoy me as much as Vaxis 2 did. So I think it's a step in the right direction. And it didn't feel clunky like the last Steven Wilson record. Which it felt very clunky. At least this one flowed better. So in terms of a score, Nick, I know you get. Let's do a 1 to 5. I know already your score, Nick, because I saw the what's your score, Nick. I don't know.
Well, yeah, for me, it's a 3 out of 5. Because like the thing is with Coheed is that like what they're doing is at such a high level. Like they're an amazing band. Like we're nitpicking the music and stuff, but like what they do is just insane from a musician's perspective. I wish I had half of the talent these guys have with like just the production and the arrangements and the songwriting. So I automatically just think they're amazing. But in terms of the songs themselves, doesn't quite get there for me. And so yeah, 3 out of 5, kind of right in the middle.
What about you, Mary?
I agree. For me, it's a 3 out of 5.
Yeah. So what about you, JC?
I'm gonna go the same. I mean, that's how I feel. It's a 3 out of 5. It's good. It's not like something I'm gonna go back to a lot, but better than the last one. So 3 out of 5 for me. Yeah.
So if this was an Easy That Bad, it would be Fun Sideways.
Probably, yeah.
Totally.
So for me, I also agree with a 3 out of 5. I think that's a fair assessment because it has some good parts, but it is too long. And I think those if you're going to do like an epic closer, have it be better. I don't know. At least to me, from the epic closers that they had in albums, this goes like in the weaker category for me. But still, I think the album was a grower because at the beginning I was gonna give it a lower score. But I listened to it more. I'm like, no, like let me listen to it more. So yeah, we all gave it a 3 out of 5. So we want to know from you, Couchers, what do you think of Coheed and Cambria's Vaxis? Act 3. Tell us, the father of Bailey, what are your favorite tracks? Comment down below. So Nick, what if Nick, Señorita, and JC. So Nick, what do you have coming up on your channel, man?
What do I got coming up? Well, I should probably plug myself because I'm releasing a single, my first single as a solo artist this Friday,
Wow.
what's a song called Not Usually. It's kind of an acoustic, soft kind of thing. Cause that's typical, right? I played in a hard rock band for so many years that my solo thing has to be acoustic and soft and all lovey-dovey, but it's a good song. And I'm really happy to, finally be releasing new music, and that'll be up on my YouTube channel on Friday.
Does it sound like Songbird?
Not quite. It's very Oasis-y, but it's I don't know. It sounds like me, so I'm looking forward to people hearing it.
Yeah, I need to listen to it. Hey, maybe I can interview you.
Oh yeah, as an artist, yeah.
yeah, that would be easy to talk to you. So yeah, this Friday I'll listen to it when it comes out. I saw the artwork. It has like a robot.
Yeah, it's a robot. It's kind of like I have a music video for it too. It's kind of like a late night city kind of vibe to it.
Awesome, man. So Señorita, you have anything coming up on your channel?
Yeah, I have Sabrosura recommendation vinyls with El Duderino coming up this weekend.
Nice. What topic are you?
I'm not sure yet.
So for those of you that don't know, El Duderino is her husband, Señorita's husband, and yeah, like they talk about vinyl, and they buy a lot of vinyl, so they show it on the channel. So yeah, I gotta do another episode of like.
Yes, you should.
So yeah, so subscribe to her channel. Great channel for music lovers and vinyl lovers. And finally, JC Rock and Metal Reviews. He does album reviews, rankings, and he's going all over the world. What's next for you, JC?
Well, I have a couple retro reviews where I usually do them for the anniversaries, which I'll post them sometime around their anniversary. So I just posted Radiohead The Bends, a video talking about that one. And I'm planning to do one on the band Mad Season, and that album above. That one also had an anniversary, which I think was a couple of days ago for their 30th anniversary. And every weekend I just review the new albums coming out. So we have some new stuff for Cradle of Filth coming out, and a couple of other bands this weekend. So whatever comes out new, I just review it. Yeah.
Yeah, that I actually had that Mad Season record on vinyl. The only one above, the only one that they put out. It's a great record.
Yeah, they only put out one album, but it's a really good album. Yeah.
Yeah, if no one has, if you haven't listened to that, that's a super group with Lane Staley, I think Mike McGrady from Pearl Jam.
Yeah, Mike McCready and
Someone from
Mark Lanigan does some vocals, but he wasn't an official member. And there were two other guys. I can't remember their name right now, but they were from Screaming Trees or some other band. Yeah, yeah. And pretty much like half of the band is like pretty much died. So it's kind of a sad story. Yeah.
But hey, that's your that's your tagline, the sad story of a
Yeah.
And people will be so coming up for me this weekend with new albums. I think I'm going to do the Imperial Triumphant because I got the promo early.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest, I haven't really got into that band, but since I know I'll try to listen to it, see if I get into them because I got the promo. And obviously we'll have an Is It That Bad for the new A Day to Remember, which is coming out this Friday, and that's going to be for Is It That Bad this Sunday. So yeah, I want to thank my panel for joining me. And of course, subscribe to my channel. So yeah, so until next time, Couchers, this is Hector, the Shield Dude on a Couch, and I'll see you all right here on the couch. Thank you and goodbye.